Makes it nice and quick and easy. It's like Amazon for 3D printing.
Sorry, I'm like a kid.
Yeah, yeah.
Excited. So what do people drop in? They drop in like a blueprint of something, or like
their CAD model.
A picture.
So it's the actual design of the product. So it's the volume and dimensions of your product that you're throwing in there. So the best example would be something created on like Onshape or Fusion 360 or SolidWorks. You can go to design. Well, there's many parts in there. So
that's cool, because that's another thing that I'm learning here. Because like you think of 3D printing, you're just doing like one thing at a time, but you're like creating like some kind of puzzle, putting these things together, optimized.
It's Tetris. It's Tetris completely. We're playing 3D Tetris with unique products and stuff for businesses. And so ideally we want to see as many nice packed parts as possible. And you get a couple funny ones that come through, and it's like, man, definitely.
And I mean, what are some of the big lessons you've learned, from a pricing perspective? Like, I mean, did you have times you were failing in that department, or you raised prices for some specific reason, or and that didn't work? Are there any like little lessons in there?
Yeah, so we've run into a couple things. We built out the formula that we were using, and it's a pretty unique formula. It takes bounding box, surface area, and volume into account, plugs it into a little system, and we spit out $10. So it's kind of a fun little one that we utilize. And so initially, I would say that we were pretty low on pricing, so it was hard to.
Hi, I'm Matt Levenhagen, founder of Unified Web Design, Unified Plugins, and your host of the Builders Podcast. Here on the Builders, our goal is to uncover the first principles behind building businesses, products, and services. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe or follow wherever you're listening. And if you find value in our content, a like, share, or review is always appreciated. Let's dive in and explore the roots of innovation and progress together. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another The Builders. Today, we are joined by Oscar Klassen. Oscar is the CEO of JawsTec, which is an online digital manufacturing company that specializes in 3D printing, which is very cool. Welcome to the show.
Excited to be here. Yeah, looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm like I said, before we started. Before we hit record, I'm like, there's no pressure for me today because I know nothing about 3D printing. So I don't have to bring my A game. I don't have to worry. I can ask all the stupid questions. It's exciting.
Yeah.
But yeah. And as I was, I remember, we had our first conversation. I was talking about what inspired me in our season 2 of the Builders to get deeper into the nuts and bolts of building things. And what sparked it was actually a gentleman I had on that manufactured a product, and Cord Brick it's called, and he manufactured a product. And in that conversation, we got really into the meat of it. Like, he was talking about the materials and all the failures, trying different materials and getting that manufactured, that whole process, and how he validated that idea and all this stuff. And I'm like, this is amazing. But there was a lot to it, and it took him several years to get through all this.
Right.
And probably a lot of money spent trying to get it done. But 3D printing, as we talked about it, and we'll learn today as the audience listens in, is actually a really nice way to see some kind of product or idea come to life in a little bit more maybe efficiently and maybe cheaper. But we'll get into that. The first thing let's do is let's just have you talk and me stop talking and talk about kind of your background and kind of what led up to what you're doing today. What kind of influenced you and informs what you do today. So I'll kind of hand it off to you if you want to tell that story.
Yeah, no problem. So yeah, I'm Oscar. I'm the CEO here at JawsTec. Got into this space kind of by accident. Ended up at a drone manufacturing company to start out. I was going for electrical engineering at the time. And we started to print our drone bodies. So it's kind of a unique aspect of trying to utilize some of the advancements in technology. We used a service that printed a nylon 12 body in an SLS process, which is selective laser sintering. And so it just uses a laser, melts a nylon 12 powder, and out come your parts. So we were printing these drones while I was at university, just trying to work my way through that. I ended up dropping out because I just did not love the electrical engineering side. I enjoyed everything else outside of the actual degree I was going for. Yeah, it was ridiculous. So I landed
that's how life goes, though. That's
it is.
You have this
exactly.
idea.
This is what I want to do. And then once I got into it, I'm like, oh, this is not for me. So ended up jumping out of that and landed in an opportunity to pick up one of these SLS machines. The use case for it was we could pick the machine up for zero down and try to see if we could make it work over 6 months. And we could send it back if it doesn't, no cost to us.
So what is the SLS machine?
Yeah, so it was an EOS SLS machine. So EOS is the company. SLS is just that selective laser sintering. And so we started into the industrial additive manufacturing with this large, think industrial fridge size. Massive machine, big laser on it, and it prints a big bucket of powder that's 2 feet deep, and you can stack in there.
Can we take this moment just to kind of like, sorry, I'm cutting you off.
Yeah.
But
no, good.
My brain's like, what?
Yeah.
Can we take a moment before we dig further into your story and stuff? Like, what is 3D printing? Like, like you're talking about materials or powder, and like, how does it kind of work? And then like the short elevator type of explanation.
No, of course. So as far as the printing process that we utilize, that nylon powder is laid on a bed, a build unit that slowly lowers, and it adds more and more layers of powder on that. Each layer has a slice file of all the parts that you've placed in this build pack. So you can pack anywhere between 20 to 2,000 parts in a build. You don't need any supports in this type of process. So they can be shoved in there any which way. We do a lot of automotive parts. So you got a nice big air box inside, and you can stack it full of parts. And you can just pull them right out after the printing process is done. So every layer is printing this process, and it will do about 6,000 layers over about 24 hours on this SLS machine. We've got a couple other ones, MJF, which is multi-jet fusion. And that does the same thing, lays down a layer of powder, but instead of laser blasting where those parts are, it's an inkjet printer. So it basically is printing a piece of paper, but it's actually powder underneath every layer.
Powder solidifies as you're...
Yep. So the powder gets the layer of that part on top of it, and then the heating element comes by and blasts that black ink and melts the black ink, but all the white powder around it stays unsintered. So you get a hard part in the middle of your white powder, but that is a gray or black part now compared to SLS, which is a white part because the laser's not changing its color. So it keeps it nice and white. The MJF makes it black because of that ink inside. So both of those processes basically operate the same way. It's a big bin of powder with your parts just stacked inside there. We have a software where we just pull in parts into a build scene and then pack it, and it auto nests everything. So we don't have to nest much anymore. I originally was the one doing all the manual nesting until we got the auto nester. That's what it's called.
And what is the nesting?
And nesting means we can take each part into the build scene and then just click auto nest, and it will pack all 2,000 parts into the build without me moving each little part manually.
Oh, gotcha.
So it solves that issue. So instead of 3 hours packing one job, I can now spend 5 minutes. So it's a big time saver as far as each build. And now that we have basically 20 industrial machines here, it's a requirement. You couldn't manually do that. We basically had to get that at 2 printers, just because it was impossible to not have a full team of people just building jobs out for each one. So it saves a lot of time and effort for building each and every job. the initial situation was we started with one printer here and began working on trying to build up the amount of products going out the door for our customers. From that situation, on that 6-month time period where we managed to test it, I was the only individual here, so I was running the printer, doing cold calls, setting up every little thing as far as the business operations. I would say I was not very clued in on all the different operations that needed to happen. I kind of just did what I needed to do in order to keep business rolling. Month 5, we were going to send the machine back. Just wasn't paying for itself.
Okay.
Month 6, it met its payment and my wage. And so we were like, hey, we might have something here.
Oh, nice. So it's like the first 5 months you had it, you weren't making any money or
we printed,
do anything.
Yeah, 15 actual jobs. I mean, we just really struggled to get product out the door. We were doing a lot of stuff for family members and then that drone business I had mentioned before, but it just wasn't going anywhere. We weren't making any dollars. So
this is a scenario in like month 5. If you would have given up right there, we wouldn't be talking right now.
We wouldn't be talking.
You gave it one more month.
We just needed one more month. Month 8, we needed a second machine. So it just...
Is this now like where's this business coming from? Is like through word of mouth? Through did you just
a decent amount of word of mouth, but our website SEO strength is now a big portion of business that's coming into us. We have an instant quote engine on our website, so people can just drag and drop their file in. So you design a little USB up, stick it in there as far as like the casing and stuff like that. It spits out a price in half a second. You know exactly what you're going to pay. You click purchase. It sends it to us. We'll ship it to you in 2 to 4 days. So makes it nice and quick and easy. It's like Amazon for 3D printing.
Sorry, I'm like a kid.
Yeah.
Excited. So what do people drop in? They drop in like a blueprint of something or like
their CAD model.
A picture?
So it's the actual design of the product. So it's the volume and dimensions of your product that you're throwing in there. So the best example would be something created on like Onshape or Fusion 360 or SolidWorks. You can go design specific parts. So this would be one part. The black casing would be the second part. And you can upload both of those into that drop location. And it tells us exactly the model that you want printed. And that information is just passed over to the machine and it can print it. So it's pretty simple as far as getting it designed and printed. It just takes a designer to do it.
Gotcha. Because I was imagining myself at your website just like dropping things in and
dropping things in there. Yeah. No, it has to be a CAD model. So in STL or step file, there's typically the ones we like to see.
Cool. Carry on.
That it comes with all the information. Yeah, no, it's a good question. So that comes into our system. We'll ship it out to you. So initially, what we had started with was partnering with a few other service providers, so similar space to us, basically competitors. But we're like, hey, utilize our machine's excess capacity. We're happy to print for you. And so they would send us over a couple jobs, and that's how we kind of started to get our feet underneath us. And as time's gone on, we've gone from 90% of our work being to partners to now it's flipped and we're doing 90% of our work for our own customers. So we're now owning the customer base, and that makes it a lot better because we were in a situation where it was like, someone could just flip the switch and we're off. It was a little scary in those types of situations. But
they kind of bought you some time though to build the rest.
Build that rapport with individuals, build our own client list, and start to manage and control a lot more of that supply chain. So we've managed to build our way up from the initial 1 machine to 2, all the way up to now we have 20 industrial machines that are printing. We have vapor smoothing equipment, meaning an evaporated alcohol that smooths the parts up a little bit. The powder can get kind of grainy as far as the texture feel. So some people don't love that aspect of the process. So in order to solve that, we have a evaporated alcohol that lands on your part and it actually smooths it out to like an injection mold feel. And so that solves a lot of those issues. It costs a little bit more, but some people want that. And the ideal customer for us is someone who is looking to iterate quite often. We want them coming in and saying, hey, I've got this idea, but I want to change it. I'm going to do this next and do this. So revisions is very key as far as utilizing this technology the best way, because obviously price point wise, once you get up to like 10,000 units or 100,000 units, we're just not as competitive to injection molding. It's cheaper to go buy a $50,000 mold and do 5-cent parts. Whereas we're at $5 parts, so it takes a while to get up to that 50,000 mold, but $5 to 5 cents, you are quite a bit more expensive per piece. So we know we've got a little niche area right there, but it is production quality parts. It's not an FDM machine sitting on your desk or at the library or something where you print off a little trinket or some of those toys that go over at your local farmer's market or something like that. We are doing stuff for businesses and products that are going out to be sold to individuals. And that's the market that we hit, and just reducing that barrier to entry. So now an individual from their garage, they can start a business and they can produce 100 parts and just slowly sell them out. And then you buy another 200 parts and then you sell those out, and then 400. And then eventually you're going to work your way up to the 10,000 mark and start toying with the idea of moving over to injection molding. And we know that's a natural process for a lot of our customers. But
so they'll start with you, and then eventually they could just switch over to if they're
having a lot of
volume,
larger volume stuff. But we do find quite a few people will stay with us because of the customization and freedom. So they start offering their customers more customizable parts. So you want your name on it. Oh, great. I can design that up in 2 minutes and print it out for you. And now that gives me a customized, unique offering for your market. A great example would be something like insoles, maybe. We can stick your name on them. Now you know exactly whose insoles these are, or something like that. And that's not necessarily the exact case where I would say that's extremely useful, but there's quite a few cases like that where they need to be just slightly different, tailored to an individual. And it optimizes, the 3D printing is optimized for that type of product. So definitely helps.
So that's interesting. Obviously we've heard about 3D printing for many, many years. And it's probably improved over that time. Yeah. But I just always imagined, I think I imagined a 3D printer like somebody would have it like in their garage. It's like this little unit, and they're doing their little free 3D printing. But it sounds like anything, there's gradient here. There's like larger machines. There's more tech, how much tech, like how has that changed? Like how long have you had, when did you get to like the 20, or has that been a gradual process? Like when has this all happened last?
Yeah. So we
5
started
years,
in
years?
2018. And obviously now 7 years later, we're at that 20 machine mark. We just recently purchased our last 4 machines at the end of last year. So it's definitely been a slow process moving up to that scale. Mainly being, obviously, we want to make sure we're utilizing our capacity. There's no reason to bring on excess capacity when you can't fill it. So as we bring machines on, we'll adjust pricing, make sure that we can fill them up again. And as we increase in the amount of product we're doing, pricing may increase because the supply is now a little bit trickier to get constant orders out. So we want to make sure that we're providing our customers with the expected return. When we say a 2 to 4 business day turnaround, we want to meet that. And that's our goal every single time, is to make sure that we're not overpromising. And so if we are running into any situations like that, we either need to increase capacity or decrease demand by increasing pricing. So that's always a balance, because we do want to make sure that we're competitive in the market. And at this point in time, we're one of the more cost-effective service bureaus out there for additive manufacturing. There's a lot of bigger ones that charge 4 to 6 times more than us. And so if you're using some of these big guys, we are printing for them, but they just have the bandwidth and traffic going to their sites. And they're a great addition to throw into printers, but we don't make a lot on them. They're very tricky to optimize.
I mean, yeah, pricing is, I mean, it's huge for every business. It can make or break you.
Yeah, definitely.
And I mean, what are some of the big lessons you've learned, or, from a pricing perspective? Like, I mean, did you have times you were failing in that department, or you raised prices for some specific reason, and that didn't work? Are there any like little lessons in there?
Yeah, so we've run into a couple things. We built out the formula that we were using, and it's a pretty unique formula. It takes bounding box, surface area, and volume into account, plugs it into a little system, and we spit out $10. So it's kind of a fun little one that we utilize. And so initially, I would say that we were pretty low on pricing, so it was hard to make sure that we were running an efficient business. So we started to increase our pricing a little bit. We had the 2020 COVID started coming out, and we ended up switching a lot of our machines over to producing face shields. There was a great opportunity where one service bureau landed a massive contract and could not fulfill what the demand was. So they started outreach to all the other service bureaus that were around and had the same equipment. And so we picked up something like that, and we produced about 120,000 face shields over the course of about 6 months. So a massive amount of product coming off of our machines. We knew it was a constant build as far as value coming in. And so little things like that was, great opportunity. And then as we've kind of gone down the line, we found a couple issues. Like last year, we had an issue where we weren't discounting the quantities properly. And that was a difficult one to find because we have a volume discount built in, and I'm getting a little bit into the weeds, but
it's okay.
Basically,
we get into the weeds here.
We were basically not providing the discount value that we expected to give to our customer as they increased in quantity. So it was the same. You only got like 10 cents off going from one part to 100 parts, whereas now you're getting like $6 off per piece. So you're going from $10 to $4 per part when you go that kind of quantity. And that's what we had expected, but for some reason our algorithm broke and we didn't catch it as quickly as we should have.
So it's like you have your software that kind of calculates this for you, and there was a bug in there.
Screwed up. Yeah. So we've got that all corrected, and we've already seen that customers have appreciated that and started to increase the quantity of order. We make it a little bit more enticing to, instead of ordering one, you can order 10, and you go from your $20 range down to like a $12 range. And so it's just so much more cost effective for customers to help us fill machines too. That's the other side of it is the end goal is if these machines aren't running at near full capacity, it's really hard to pay for themselves. They're massively expensive. And so we want to make sure that every build has product in it, has stuff that can be at least meeting its payments, and anything else can pay the employees that are standing around making sure that they come out with good quality maintenance and stuff like that.
You kind of optimize it so everything's always working, doing something, manufacturing something.
Exactly.
Very cool.
Exactly.
Excuse the interruption, but I'd like to take a quick moment to thank the sponsors of the Builders Podcast, Unified Web Design and Unified Plugins. At Unified Web Design, we specialize in crafting custom websites and providing comprehensive design and development solutions to help businesses build a strong online presence. Unified Plugins offers a suite of WordPress tools designed to help you create beautiful websites, enhance functionality, and drive conversions. Explore how these services can elevate your digital projects by visiting unifiedwebdesign.com and unifiedplugins.com. Now back to our program. Yeah, it's pricing.
Yeah,
makes or breaks you.
It does indeed.
And then you got to figure out, like discounting and all that stuff. I mean, that's just what would be your explanation for discounting like that? I mean, that how do you think about that? Like you have your kind of your base cost, what your profit, what you got to sell it for to make a profit and all that stuff. And then I don't know, like, what does it do for you? Like, obviously, I mean, it's kind of obvious, but I want to I don't know. I want to see what you have to say about that. Cause obviously you discount things based on volume and if somebody's a good customer, you want to give them a discount and that type of thing. Like, what is your philosophy around that?
Yeah, exactly. So we definitely want to value the customers that are good to work with and have put their trust in us. So we send out fairly regular on our newsletters as far as like discounts, usually in the 10 to 15% range. Black Friday is usually a little bit better and stuff like that, all depending. But ideally, we really want to encourage the larger volume orders because that is what can keep and maintain our machines.
Okay.
So quite often an individual order, it still takes the same amount of processing as an order of 10. So the price variance or difference there is I still have to have the same amount of hands touch a 1-piece part compared to a 10-piece part. And then they go in the same box typically. It takes the same amount of packing. It takes the same amount of time in each area. So that's kind of where we say, okay, well, we'll give you a better discount if you just do the 10. And then even more for the 100, it does take a little bit longer in certain areas. Obviously, you're cleaning out things maybe a little bit harder. You're having to touch each and every piece in each station, but that only increases your time a small amount compared to just touching one order. So it's exponentially more beneficial for us to be doing more parts than a single piece. But that being said, we do not turn the single pieces away. There's quite a few service bureaus that they don't even let you place an order for $150 or less.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, that's our minimum price per order. Doesn't matter if it's this small little $2 piece. It's $150. And I don't know how they make that work, but for us, we'll charge you $4 for this piece, and then a $5, $10 shipping charge just to make sure that we can pay for shipping properly. And it's a $4 piece you wouldn't have gotten into that build otherwise.
Yeah.
And so now if you order 100 of these, that's $400 that can go into the build, and I still have space in there because of this part. And so ideally I can pack it all around. We have a dollar amount we want to make per or of revenue going into per machine in order to know that this business is working. And so that's really what we're trying to hit, is make sure that everything that's going into a printer is hitting that printer's build value in order to make sure we're still running efficiently. And obviously, if it's not, we know that there's some work to do on that and fix it up a little bit more, whether that be pricing or discounts and whatnot. But we know that it's all a cost game as far as our customers as well. They're running their own self-startup businesses, or even some of the larger manufacturing companies, they still want a good price.
Right.
And we're happy to give that as long as it can meet those requirements. So a great example is I want small parts to fit around my big part. And ideally, if my big part can pay for the build, all these small parts are just extra. And so that's the ideal configuration. It doesn't always happen that way. Yeah. Most of the time, I've got just a bunch of orders of small parts or just a bunch of orders of big parts, and it's not all working properly.
So that's interesting because the machine itself can you can put a number of units in there all at once. You can either make one, but you can do one big one with however many, and that's
exactly.
Going to be
and the time to print all of that is just based on height. So if I was going to print one of these flat, it would take me an hour. But if I was going to print 100 of these flat, it would take me an hour. So I want 100.
Oh, cool.
Because they're going to charge me for that height. So that's the ideal situation. Is I want it packed as tight as possible with as many parts in there. So
that's cool, because that's another thing that I'm learning here. Because you think of 3D printing, you're just doing one thing at a time, but you're creating like some kind of puzzle, putting these things together.
Oh, exactly.
Optimized.
It's Tetris. It's Tetris completely. We're playing 3D cool. Tetris with unique products and stuff for businesses. And so ideally we want to see as many nice packed parts as possible. And you get a couple funny ones that come through, and it's like, man, that is really difficult to pack into a job and make it efficient. But we've priced out a couple things like that. So as you get over certain dimensions, we have to start charging more because it starts taking up too much space. And the other side is a lot of people go per gram when they're pricing. So just the per gram per part is what they like to price it out. The problem with that situation and why we use bounding box is because I can have a part that has the same amount of weight as this, but it's a massive like wire frame building, maybe something like that. But it's just super thin everywhere, but it takes up the whole build. I'm not going to charge them $4.
Right.
But you're costing the whole job for that. That's a $600 part in order to even just begin printing that. So that's where we've taken in a few more pieces of information saying, yeah, no, you're over these dimensions. The price goes up to this. And that's another optimization we do for.
That sounds like it's a learning process you've kind of figured out over time. And
totally. Yep. Initially, we were like, oh, yeah, we shouldn't have too many of those. And we watched a couple of them come through and like, oh, snap, we lost our shorts on those. We better go get something else put in place there to make sure that doesn't happen again.
Yeah. Interesting. So I'm leading towards a question because I'm a tech guy, but I'm going to ask you about materials though, because this is also something on my mind. Like, what type of materials can you create things out of?
Yeah. So right now, currently, we are working mostly with nylon 12 powder. So that's very comparable to your nylon 6 that's in your car. So your dashboard's made of the nylon 6 and stuff like that. So very comparable to that. And you can get greater thicknesses and dimensions, all depending on how your model's been created. So you can get some really rigid parts, or you can open them up and make them a little latticey, and it can kind of flex and be a little bit more user-friendly type of situation. So it really depends on the thickness of the part as you're going about. We do have a couple other ones. We've got one here. This is a TPA for a pickleball. It's just kind of a cool looking pickleball, but it's noiseless, and so it reduces the noise that a lot of people complain about pickleball. And it's just printed in a TPA material on the MJF machines.
So just for those in audio, that he's holding up a ball with look like dimples around it, and he's able to squeeze
lattice
it.
Structure.
Lattice structure.
And then we have a TPU in the SLS white as well. And so this is just a nice square in the same rubber material. So those are kind of our main ones that we focus on. And then we are also setting up some of our machines to run titanium. So we are now going to be offering titanium metal printing to our customers. And that will be really, really interesting. Cool. Obviously, there's a few performance-based sports and focuses out there. Your cars, motorcycles, biking. Golf is another one. My father really enjoys golf, and so he's wanting to design up a set of golf clubs. So it would be really interesting to see how the market reacts to that. But the way we're going about it is pretty unique. And so I think it will be really cost effective, and that will create a whole nother market for us that we really hadn't touched much before. So there's a lot of cool things that are coming and then are out there, but it's done in very similar process where I can pack anything in there. It's not needing supports or anything like that. And so there's a few unique situations coming out there that
that's your criteria for materials that you want to work with. There's probably a lot of, like, in general, 3D printing can use a lot of different materials, I would imagine. Right?
Yeah, these processes are a little more limited, just because they're a little bit newer. Like the MJF technology's only been out since 2015, 2016, so it's pretty new. The SLS process has been out for a lot longer, but the material prices are really high in SLS. And so that makes it really hard to adapt to new materials and technologies, or just materials and processes in general. So as they get better and better, we are hoping prices drop for those materials, because right now it's not as competitive as it should be to injection molding. We'd like to get to the price point where we're competing with those $100,000 quote, 100,000 piece quotes, because the price in materials dropped enough to where price per part, we can compete with 7 cents. Right now, we're at probably 50 cents for the lowest we can go, something like that. It just makes it really hard to get it any less than that, because there's so many steps to the process, and we're not cranking out 10,000 a day. We can only print the build worth. And so if I can only print 1,000 at 7 cents, what is that, $70? It's not even close to economical. I have to be greater than that. And so that's kind of the situation that we run into.
Interesting. So do you feel like you're a competitor to manufacturers, or are you just filling a different niche?
Filling a different niche. CNC machine shops have their specific areas, definitely on tolerance, a little bit better tolerance. And then you can't manufacture a lot of the stuff we print. It's designed in such a way that no tooling bit can go inside and cut certain areas. There's no way to do certain lattice structures that we manufacture. There's a couple unique options out there, but there's nothing that can quite do what the 3D printing area can do. So we compete, I guess, on certain simpler parts, but on your more intense parts, there's just no other way to do it. And so that's definitely where we thrive. And then your customization. So anytime there's a useful customization model where you're giving each client or customer their own unique product, there's no way to do that other than 3D printing. So I think we landed in our own little sector, and it's a great area for people to grow in and potentially move on from. But it's definitely got its place and will always be competitive. I don't think at any point in time it will take over any specific sector, because it is enough of itself.
That just seems like a stepping stone. Like somebody's got an idea and they want to, like you said, especially if you need to iterate on that idea.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you have? I just had a side note. Could you create different textures for? Because you were talking about a method before to smooth it. Can you create different textures of the material on the outside, like? So
we're actually working with a software company right now where you'll be able to upload your model. Say you upload your USB stick, just because I have this sitting here, and you wanted a leather texture on the front of that, or something similar to your car. You will now be able to upload the model, click on that model, and use like a paintbrush or an area select that area and select the texture you want, and it will auto import that into your file. So it'll actually have the file with the texture on it. And then you'll be able to purchase that straight through our quote engine. We'll be the first one in the industry to have something like that. But it has been a massive request for your automotive companies, for your medical companies, as far as having these textures and abilities. A great example is like your knife guards, having a nice little diamond texture on it for grip and stuff like that. Yeah. It's really cool as far as what the potential out there is. So at this point in time, we can't do any unique textures. We can paint it, we can smooth it, we can dye it. But we can't add a texture until now, when we utilize some software that will automatically import that and implant that on the STL file.
Part of the same process, or like the 3D printing, or is that a separate process?
Yeah, that's a part of the same process. So we just import it onto the actual CAD model, and then we just print the CAD model with that texture. And so it comes out with the texture. I have one here, which is going to be kind of hard to see, and some people watching it, I don't think you're going to see that, but it's got a carbon fiber texture, so you can feel the threading, the weaving of that carbon fiber texture. And so now you can hit certain markets that specifically like that carbon fiber feel, but it's still just a plastic printed nylon 12 part. And then potentially we'll try to utilize this for like metal printing and stuff like that. And then we can get some pretty unique looking parts.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So overall, like, from a technology perspective, and I guess as these things have developed, like what have you seen, like, since you've kind of started doing this, like how the machines have improved, or how technology, like even we can throw out the buzzword AI or buzz. Is there anything like from a software perspective that you've seen evolve that makes things more incredible today, or that are evolving things now in a direction where what are things going to look like in a few years?
Yeah. So hitting it on two separate notes, the customer and ourselves. The customers now, their design options and softwares out there for that are getting better and better. And then there's even a couple text to CAD model or text to 3D image that have started to come out. And those are really interesting. And most of them are designed to be in-game items or 3D printing. So it really depends on the software you utilize, but that is a complete AI model. It's like your text to image, but it's just a text, sometimes to image to 3D, but sometimes text to just 3D. And so those are really
so you could have
unique.
somebody that has like just kind of like ChatGPT or something.
Yep, exactly. I want a Roman soldier with a sword, and boom, here's your 3D model of a Roman soldier with a sword. You send it over to us, we'll print it out and send it over to you, and now you've got this sweet little model. You didn't have to design it, you didn't have to print it, and it's on your desk.
Man,
so
love it.
Makes it really simple and easy in that way. And so there's a couple cool things as far as softwares out there that you can utilize and learn, as well as just text to model generation. As far as our side goes, the AI buzzword is thrown around a lot. Anyone who says they're using AI to quote parts, they currently aren't. There's no AI that's utilized in that way. It's just your algorithms that have been around for the last 15 years. It's nothing fancy. If they're throwing AI in there, they might be dabbling in it, but they're not currently quoting it out. We've talked about trying to maybe use the buzzword a little bit, but it's disingenuous, I feel.
I mean, if it works the way you got it now with the algorithms you got now, I mean, why mess with it? It's just the same.
Yeah, well, and no one else is using it. I mean, they, like I said, they might be dabbling in it, but they haven't switched everything over to it because you just don't know how it's going to react or change your business model. So we're not utilizing that in our quoting, but we do utilize it in our business quite a bit. And then as far as kind of what we've gone and done is our quote engine is a great tool that people can utilize. And we've now integrated that with our own MES on the backside. So it now flows from a job coming in and moving to each area and being fulfilled. So that makes it really efficient as far as optimized for the customer. Yeah, we've done a few things just to optimize and utilize as far as the tech stack that we utilize here. We've got 3 in-house computer science individuals and 1 outsourced web developer, and that's fairly unique for a manufacturing company. But it gives us a little bit of an edge, I feel, as far as what we're doing.
What's the web developer doing over there?
Web developer, he was actually one of our initial hires that built our quote engine. So he knows the whole quote engine back to front. He's got a big background for computer science, and so
nice.
That's what he enjoys to do. He just happened to get into the space of web development, and we just knew him from a family friend, and he helped us develop a lot of it. So kind of an integral part to how JawsTec got started.
Nice. So it's like the big, what are the big innovations? I mean, what do you think like I said, looking down a couple of years, I mean, is it just the bringing down the price of these things and optimizing them further? And, I mean, already you're in a good place where like, it seems like the average small business can, if they got an idea and they want to, they got something other than just spending all this money on manufacturing, and they got another option. I mean, what are you seeing in a few years?
Yeah, I think it's going to become more mainstream as people are going to have a more understanding or idea on the different ways you can 3D print and manufacture certain things. One thing that the printer manufacturers have to do is start decreasing price of machine and price of material, just because there's a very large barrier to entry. And so if you want the technology to be adopted, and efficiently utilized, you've got to find a way to decrease that pricing. And obviously coming up with new technologies and better ways to process, that will be a big step. As far as JawsTec, one of our big pushes is going to be into the titanium market. And that will be hitting a lot of different spaces. And I think that will take it kind of by storm, because your cost of material and unique capabilities in that space is going to just kind of take off a little bit, I think, as far as what can be done. So few things that we'll be focused on there is just trying to be competitive in the market that we currently are in and start offering new materials and processes.
Yes, yeah, experimenting and testing.
Exactly.
I mean, I found this whole thing so fascinating just from the perspective. I don't know what I envision, and I don't know what the average person envisions about 3D printing. Maybe some loser hanging out in his garage with a 3D printer, like you know. But what's amazing and what I've taken away from this is just it is a thing. It is definitely, even the manufacturers are leveraging it. It's amazing. It's like it's here, and it's just going to get better, and it's good stuff. Yeah. So if somebody wants to kind of learn more about what you do and reach out to you or find you on the World Wide Web, where can they find you? Where can they?
Learning a little bit more about us, our website, jawstec.com, so JAWSTEC.com, so no H in that. That's the best way to find out a little bit, utilize our code engine, just kind of see what our offerings are. We've got a fairly good Instagram channel as well, so 140,000 followers on that. Not too bad there. Nice. Yeah. And we go into a lot of in-depth processes, a couple fun videos and stuff like that. But we've gotten a lot of good feedback there. A couple fairly viral, 32 million or something like that.
Wow.
On one or two videos. So
this is like the perfect thing for Instagram.
Yeah, exactly. We can do some fun, cool things. So it's been really interesting just to kind of see the feedback there. But as far as any more information on us, those are kind of the two main areas, as well as LinkedIn. I'm trying to post a decent amount on there, just for businesses that are trying to look for certain things, and that's kind of the clientele that we're after. So
very nice. Well, thanks for joining us, Oscar. Appreciate you sharing your story and all your insights and opening our minds to this whole 3D printing thing.
Yeah,
until next time.
Of course, anytime. Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Builders Podcast. One more quick note about our sponsors. At Unified Web Design, we're passionate about doing better together, partnering with agencies and businesses to deliver exceptional web design, development, and ongoing support. And Unified Plugins offers tools to take your WordPress projects to the next level, helping you build beautiful websites, enhance functionality, and drive more conversions. If you haven't already, subscribe or follow to stay updated on future episodes. And if you enjoyed today's conversation, sharing it with somebody who might benefit helps us grow this amazing community. Until next time, keep building with intention and creativity.